YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. It's fantasy football season. Today, I'm very excited about this video. We're going to go through all 15 rounds of your fantasy football draft, and I'm going to give you the best, my favorite target for each round. Actually, not only that, I'm going to give some other options as well. So, really, we're going over my four favorite players for each round of this fantasy football season here in 2022. So really excited about this. We'll mainly focus on my best option. Tried to go with players that for sure should be there in that round. No praying this guy drops, no reaches. So expecting all these guys to be available in those rounds. So we'll break it down here. We have recent mocks, fantasy mocks. We got all kinds of NFL coverage and definitely more to come. Cannot wait for our in-season content. Twitter, if you're not following us there, you're missing out. Talked throughout the entire Hall of Fame game. And we'll do that for every NFL game as well. Preseason, we got you covered. Super followers on Twitter get bonus content, including fantasy content, the recent updated mock drafts, involvement in fantasy leagues, a lot of different involvement in videos as well, pick'ems during the year, and just bonus content in general. So follow that Twitter if you want to super follow us. It'd be much appreciated. Like, subscribe to notifications on because we got full NFL coverage here. Here's our Twitter, some updates, always news, rumors, updates, and more here on our Twitter. Check it out. Again, click that super follow button while you're there. It'd be much appreciated. So first round, I mean, you can go with multiple different guys here, but I'm really feeling Justin Jefferson. You know, with that Kevin O'Connell offense, they're going to throw the ball more. Could Jefferson have a Cooper Kupp year? I think he could have had a Cooper Kupp year even without Kevin O'Connell, who coached Cooper Kupp, because Jefferson is that good and getting that much better. So he will get that amount of targets. He will get that, that amount of production. Other favorites that I would pick would be Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, and Derrick Henry. Of course, if you have the first pick, you're likely to go Jonathan Taylor. I'm usually not a guy, a lot of people kind of say, okay, if I have the third pick, I have to take this guy pretty much, or if I have the sixth pick, I got to go this guy. I only can go receiver if I have like a 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 pick. I never really agreed with that. I always just take the player I really, really want. I'm never afraid to stack up on receivers early as well. I'm really feeling Jefferson, but Kupp, had a ridiculous year last year, fantasy-wise and just football-wise in general. Chase as well, and that was only in his first year. And Derrick Henry, I would view as, it feels like it's all, he was injured last year, but I still view him as maybe the safest running back. You love, and of course, if you have the first pick, you take Taylor. I'm not all about taking McCaffrey super early. I really worry about the durability. Cook, really like Cook, around that 3-4 pick. Najee Harris, same thing. Najee Harris and Derrick Henry, kind of the safer running backs, but Cook, maybe a little bit of durability concerns as well. But I'm really liking Jefferson, the idea of him, and I really like going and getting those elite receivers for fantasy. It's worked out pretty well for me. But so that's my take on that in the first round here. This is probably, if you're taking Jefferson, I would consider him up there around 3, 4, but you probably can get him around that 6, 7 range. That'd be pretty good. So that's my favorite target in round 1. Round 2, I'm going to go Leonard Fournette. It was really, really tough for me between Leonard Fournette and CeeDee Lamb, because I'm a big CeeDee Lamb fan, and you take away Amari Cooper, James Washington goes down, Gallup injured, might miss a little bit of time. CeeDee Lamb's going to get all kinds of production when it comes from the outside and the inside. They're going to get him the ball. He's ready to break out, even though he kind of already did, but break out even further. So I really like Lamb there, but I really like Leonard Fournette too. Was a monster last year for fantasy, obviously. Really getting going, catching the ball too as a pass-catching back. I really saw him take those strides last year, so he can continue to grow off that. They did draft Rachaad White, who I like, but it just feels like Fournette, and they don't have Ronald Jones anymore. It feels like Fournette's just the guy there. So I feel pretty comfortable with him in the second round. I really like Lamb as well. Deciding factor there was my first round guy was a receiver, so I go with Leonard Fournette here. But Lamb, Fournette, if you're having this scenario, maybe you didn't take Jefferson in the first round, or you had an earlier pick, got a running back, whatever it may be, just know that Lamb is a equally as good option here, because he's going to be very productive for the reasons I explained. Javonte Williams, rave reports out of camp, Broncos camp there. It does worry you a little bit because they, not surprisingly, but somewhat surprisingly, brought Melvin Gordon back. But I think Javonte Williams is the guy. How productive he was last year, even when splitting, not starting on the year. Pretty ridiculous to think about. So I think he takes that next step. Go-to guy, I think, around the goal line, the red zone as well, but he can break one loose, and underrated as a pass catcher too, kind of like Fournette. And then Mark Andrews, who's kind of a sure thing, especially with the shortage on receivers there in Baltimore. I think that's another good option there in round 2. I really the stars of round 2 for me. And of course, if somebody slides through, like the obvious one would be, you know, borderline guys like Diggs, Devontae Adams, Travis Kelce. Those are the 3, like, not all of them will be there in the second round. But those are the 3, like, end of first, early second. They may not be there in the second. So these are the guys I want to talk about that definitely should be there in the second. Fournette and Lamb, kind of the featured guys here in round 2. Round 3, going to go Keenan Allen for sure. And there's that borderline guy of like Tyreek Hill. Is he going to be there in the third? He very well could be at the end of the second. So keep Tyreek Hill in mind, guys like that. But I thought Keenan Allen had a down year last year for Keenan Allen. He had a little bit more drops than you would like for him. You know, so I think I've just something about him, you know, the feeling I get like he could have, and he's had a monster career. He can have a monster season, maybe one of the best he's had. I kind of can see that coming this year. So I'm expecting big production from him. Feel really good about him in the third round. Kyle Pitts looking really good in training camp. He had all those yards last year. He was a guy that I really had to target last year, and I got. And all those yards, lack of touchdowns, some people may worry. I kind of see it as upside. Like he's gonna get those yards. He's gonna rack up those yards still. He's only going to go up from here when it comes to the red zone play, getting touchdowns. You have Drake London, who's that big body guy that team's got to worry about as well. So it's like you can't put your big body man coverage DB on both of them. You have to pick one. So that's great for Pitts. A.J. Brown's going to get, you know, even if Hurts struggles as a passer downfield, I don't really think that hurts A.J. Brown a whole lot. You know, he's just a guy you're going to get the ball, whether it's screen passes, end arounds, comebacks. Even downfield on the sideline, Hurts will just put it up in the air. He'll make a play on it. So I'm you know, coming across the middle of the field. So I'm very confident with A.J. Brown, no matter how Jalen Hurts plays there. And Zeke in round 3, you know, it's every year we think, you know, maybe Zeke's declining a little bit. That might be accurate, but every year he continues to be consistent fantasy-wise. You know, and they like having Zeke in there as a starter in multiple downs over Pollard, maybe because of blocking as well. So Zeke's still going to get his reps, still going to be the starter. So I think he's a solid round 3 option there. Really like, again, the top 2 options are my favorite here. Keenan Allen and Kyle Pitts are my favorite in round 3. Pitts was a guy I absolutely had to have last year. I was glad to have him. He's going to add even more to that this year. Round 4, this was a tough one too, back and forth between Travis Etienne and Courtland Sutton, 2 guys that I'm rising up my board recently. Sutton just seems like a Russell Wilson sideline type of receiver, DK Metcalf, that type of guy. I was very high on Sutton out of SMU too, and I mean now he's got a good quarterback. He's healthy. He's going to be an absolute stud. We were kind of going receiver heavy here with my favorite pick. So deciding factor, I went Etienne, who I'm really feeling too. Because you see James Robinson trying to practice. He doesn't look 100% right. Looks like he's favoring one side. That's not great. They may take it easy with him, even though he's a talented back. Etienne, very talented. He got the year off last year. There's talks about him being in more of shape this year. I mean, Trevor Lawrence yesterday during the Hall of Fame game said it. Etienne said it. Best shape of his life, baby. A phenomenal pass catcher, obviously, and a phenomenal runner as well. Doug Peterson gets creative with those running backs. Really feeling Etienne. There's always those running backs that get drafted around here, or even guys you're picking up off waivers that end up being the best or towards the top, besides the clear-cut, elite, obvious ones. I think Etienne could be one of those, you know, the round 4, 5 range where he, you know, probably 4. I think he's locked in at 4. That could be surprisingly one of the better fantasy running backs this year. Courtland Sutton just talked about. I like him a lot. I mean, he could be pictured right here with Etienne, that sideline receiver. Gets separation. Might be a little bit better getting separation than DK Metcalf, actually. But fitting well with Russell Wilson there. Just got to stay healthy. He should. Then DJ Moore, stock has gone up, adding Baker Mayfield. It feels like, you know, he's still kind of going in the same range, maybe a little bit earlier, maybe possible to get him around 5 before. Feels like a firm round 4 guy now. But with Baker, no matter what you think of Baker, I think it's a much better situation for DJ Moore, receivers like that in the Panthers. Then Darren Waller, just hopefully he stays healthy, but Adams is the main concern. And we saw that, you know, even when Waller played these last couple years, like Waller was the main concern for defenses, and he's still a mismatch issue. Now you throw Devontae Adams in there, it's just only opening things up for Waller. So just kind of banking on him staying healthy, a really good option here, potentially in round 4. Round 5, I'm a big fan of Juju Smith-Schuster on the Chiefs. Just that slot receiver that can do it all, that also can play outside, but that slot receiver that she's kind of been missing. You know, Tyreek Hill, even though he looks like a slot receiver, mainly an outside guy, and it was him and Kelsey carrying the way. No Tyreek Hill, but you get that slot with Smith-Schuster, pair him with Kelsey, and then those other receivers as well. Really spreads the field out horizontally. It's just all about, another one of those guys, all about staying healthy. I'm very confident with Juju here. He's going to be extremely productive. I mean, his younger years, we were talking about him being that next elite wide receiver. The numbers he was putting up, ridiculous. He was kind of doing what Justin Jefferson's kind of doing early on and what we think he can become. And I think quarterback play hurt him after that. Injuries hurt him, but now he's with the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes. Really, it's a steal in round 5, in my opinion, because he's going to be insanely productive. I wouldn't be shocked if by the end of the year we're talking about Juju as a elite receiver in the NFL. Maybe that's a bold statement. I'm not saying it will happen. I think it's realistic. So I think it'd be extremely productive. The key is the slot. He's one of those big slot guys, and the Chiefs haven't had that at all. Any type of slot guy. It's going to be even more simple for Patrick Mahomes, in my opinion. Even with Tyreek Hill, that might surprise me. It's maybe a little bold too, but I see it. And then Lamar possibly goes in round 4. It really depends on your league. There's some leagues that kind of go a little crazy. I've been in them that you see quarterbacks, multiple coming off in round 3, not just your Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes. I think one guy takes it and people panic. And there's some leagues that are full of guys that are like, we're going to wait as long as I can to take a quarterback. So, yeah, Lamar is very realistic for him to be in round 5. I will say this is a tip I always have. The player that scores the most points in fantasy on everyone's team or on your team or in general, just fantasy points. Quarterback scores the most fantasy points. So the top quarterbacks. So keep it that way when it comes to your team. Don't wait too long to take a quarterback. So then a receiver or running back getting your most points, because then you're missing out on those mega points from your quarterback. But Elijah Mitchell seems to be a sleeper right now. I think people are panicking a little bit because the number of running backs 49ers have. It is a little scary, but not really. Elijah Mitchell, second-year guy, absolute stud last year. No slowing down, no going away from him. So Elijah Mitchell is a pretty damn good 5th-round pick as well. And Breece Hall as well, who's starting to heat up a little bit. Jets camp, you talk about, okay, it's Breece Hall's the guy. They Mike Carter solid. They're going to use him. They're going to throw him the ball. Breece Hall's the guy. So he's starting to sneak his way up. Could he even push into round 4? Maybe that's possible. But a very good option if he's there in round 5 as well. But I'm a big Juju fan this year. If I can get him in round 5, I wouldn't even have a problem taking him in round 4, even though he should be there in round 5. So kind of a few guys like that, quite a few guys like that. Round 6 is going to go Dalton Schultz, Cowboys tight end. We talked about why I like CeeDee Lamb so much. Is just no Amari Cooper to take away all those targets. Michael Gallup dealing with the injury. I know he's not going to miss much time if he does at all. James Washington injured. They don't have Cedric Wilson. So Schultz with an insane amount of targets, receptions last year, and just got going. Like, he got a lot better last year. What's it going to be like this year? Like, it's very, very realistic to think he's going to get more targets and he's going to improve his game further because he's just getting going. So put those things together. I mean, this could be a better fantasy tight end than you think. You might be throwing him into conversation with the Waller up there. Is he as talented? No, but in terms of production, targets, might be able to put him up there just because of the Cowboys situation. A.J. Dillon really growing on me. And that would mean Aaron Jones kind of declining for me in terms of the fantasy board. Just getting a little worried because last year it was like, at times it's like, do they like Dillon better? It's like, they're just taking it easy with Aaron Jones because he had some injuries pop up. But now I'm wondering, I think they really like A.J. Dillon. Like, I think they just really like him. I keep hearing great things about him, being already in training camp, about him being involved in the passing game, which him coming out of Boston College, it's like he's a tank of a dude. You're going to give him the ball inside. Is he going to be able to do much else? But he's already this good and already turning heads, got the coach's attention in terms of the passing game. We know he can block and pass protection as well, which results in running backs being on the field more. So all of the above, it's like, all right, they really like A.J. Dillon. He's a legit fantasy option here. So I'm really, really liking Dillon. Michael Thomas, I'm feeling pretty good about Michael Thomas. It's a little scary because the injuries have popped up. It took him forever to get back. I think maybe people overreact to that a little. I understand it, though, because he's been out for a while. But I think people look at it as like he had this ankle injury and, it's just that long. Like, it must be really bad. But actually had the injury. Is like, I don't know if I should have surgery or not. Saints are like, we don't know if he should have surgery or not. They put it off. He has it. And he was probably trying to train on it right before that surgery, as well, because he thought he was going to be good to go. So he probably made it worse, and that's why he decided the surgery. So that kind of makes sense on why you kind of push the timetable back. Now he looks fresh. He looks good to go. So I'm starting to get a little more confident in Michael Thomas there. And Allen Robinson, a little tricky because if they bring OBJ back, but OBJ, which is very possible, would be my prediction if they do bring him back. But he would miss some time as well. And the Rams, Stafford having that outside contested catch, big body target is fantastic, especially to pair with Cooper Kupp. So Robinson should kind of get back on track in terms of the targets, the production this year. So I'm starting to, seeing some training camp moments too. I'm starting to feel Allen Robinson a little bit more here. On to round 7. Tom Brady. Why is Tom Brady available down here in round 7? Because he's old, because he retired and came back? I don't know, but he's been a top-tier fantasy option here. And look at all these targets he has. It's ridiculous. Mike Evans, he gets Godwin back. Russell Gage, who had a breakout year last year, and that's with Matt Ryan, who's a good quarterback, but not Tom Brady, and Matt Ryan, who didn't have a whole lot of time to throw last year. Russell Gage was very good. He has Julio Jones. They add Kyle Rudolph, who's a pretty damn good, throw the ball up for grabs in the red zone. So that means they're probably looking to throw the ball while they're in the red zone. That looks good for Tom Brady. I think he's a steal in round 7. That's right around where he should be available too. Thielen available down here as well. He's been a touchdown machine. High-powered passing attack, perhaps under Kevin O'Connell. A lot of focus on, at first it was like focus on Thielen. Jefferson's kind of going off. It's like kind of a mixture of focus on both. And now it's like, all right, I think we're going to maybe more focus on Justin Jefferson. Could that help Thielen? And again, he's been a touchdown machine. So I like him around 7. Goddard around these parts. Could he slip through to round 8? It's a possibility. But I like around here. And then Miles Sanders as well. We'll talk about Kenneth Gainwell in a little bit, but it's a little tricky because we've seen Sanders playing with the 2s a lot in training camp. I think he'll be a starter, so I think he'll be the guy. And they're going to use a collection of backs because they like to run the ball there in Philly. So a pretty good option there around 7. Round 8, really like Allen Lazard. Probably was getting talked about round 9, 10 before. I think he's starting to kind of move up. Watkins starts with on the PUP list. I mean, he's back now, but there's some concern there. Every year at Watkins, can he stay healthy? And Christian Watson, starting off injured as well. They got a number of guys. Romeo Doubs could be a sneaky guy, but Lazard just the guy. When he was even solid before, and now he's that number 1 guy, has that connection with Rodgers. I think he could be a 1,000-yard receiver this year. I think it's very possible. So I love him around 8. Robert Woods, think about it like what A.J. Brown did with the Titans. And what he became, now Robert Woods is that top receiver on the Titans. Is he A.J. Brown? No, but he's a very talented receiver, and he's taking that role like maybe Burks is more taking that role, but the role of the best receiver on the Tennessee Titans is Robert Woods. You give him the ball in multiple different ways as well. So I like him around 8. Christian Kirk, kind of known as the overpaid guy right now, but that has nothing to do with how he'll play this year, how he'll be production-wise. And I think that's why people don't talk about him enough, because Kirk should be that top option for Trevor Lawrence. He's kind of a do-it-all guy, still getting better. So I think he'll be targeted a lot, and I think he'll be very productive. And Chase Edmonds, we're a little tricky with the Dolphins running backs, but I think they got Edmonds because he can catch the ball out of the backfield very well, and he looked like he was getting better. Looked like he was getting stronger, like actually looked stronger. Maybe that's last year, but better as an inside runner as well. But as a pass catcher, they're trying to simplify things for Tua Tagovailoa, which, Waddle was dominant on the quick slants last year. Let's keep that going. He can do more than that, but let's keep that going. Tyreek Hill, give him the screen passes out wide, the end arounds, the comebacks, the back shoulders, and the sideline kind of underneath. Simplify things for Tua. Edmonds, let's leak him out, underneath. Let's get this, quick, simplified game for Tua going. I think that's where Edmonds comes into play, so he should touch the ball quite a bit here. A pretty good pick in round 8. Round 9, Kadarius Toney growing on me again. Kind of remembering when we saw him last year. He was electrifying. And now in that Daboll system, that Daboll offense, they're going to give him the ball. He's going to find ways to get open. He's going to have production. So it is a pretty crowded room over there. But Toney he's very talented. He's got to stay healthy. And if there's any issues off the field, which I'm not worried about at the moment, but he's got to stay out of trouble. But really staying healthy here. But he's very talented. I think more talented than people think. And they're going to get him the ball I think another one of those situations where they may have to simplify things a little bit for Daniel Jones is could you get a guy who can get separation, or it's just you don't need to get separation to get the ball, like underneath gadget plays. Get him going. That'd be Kadarius Toney, guys that can do something after the catch. Then James Cook, who I like a lot as well. They have Singletary, but they drafted Cook for a reason. He fits that offense so well. Right away, he can be one of the best pass-catching backs in all of football. Even day one, I think he can be that guy. He's getting better, more built, stronger as a runner, and he'll continue to grow there. The main thing is the Bills got him because he's for all those reasons, but he's such a good fit because the pass-catching ability, he's going to be able to stretch the field out. Like, we got to worry about Cook underneath or even going deep, and then we got to worry about Josh Allen's deep ball to Diggs, Gabe Davis, all these guys. So it really stretches the field out. So the Bills want that as much as possible. And then if you start, all right, Cook, we're going to put Cook in because we want to pass the ball. We want to put Singletary in because run the ball. It gets too obvious. So they can't really do that. So, therefore, they may be left just using Cook mainly there for that reason. So, that's why I like Cook. Garrett Wilson, a lot of the hype's on Elijah Moore, and I like Elijah Moore a lot. I still think Garrett Wilson has a little more to his game in terms of where he's lining up, and how you scheme the ball to him. So I still think Wilson has a good shot to be their top guy. It is a little tricky because Elijah Moore is being talked about a ton. And Ramondre Stevenson, for multiple reasons, I liked him last year. I liked him a lot coming out of Oklahoma. He's going to continue to get better. He's going to get more production, snaps, reps, handoffs this year, even pass catches. And then you factor in Damian Harris. They didn't pick up his option. It's just the Patriots' way. They're going to kind of get ready for him to move on after this year. They love Damian Harris, but it's just kind of what the Patriots do. Do they kind of get the other guys prepared? Another interesting thing is they're no longer running that Josh McDaniels, system scheme there. They're going to add some more zone, some more outside zone to it. So how does that affect Harris? How does that affect Stevenson? So it's a little bit up in the air, but I like the chances of Stevenson getting a big time increase in reps there. Round 10, kind of where it gets tricky. I'm trying to see who's available, and it's just, we're putting a load of receivers on here, but Tyler Boyd is kind of by far the best available for me in round 10 and the scenarios that I take a look at. And this isn't a mock draft. This isn't a team I'm putting together, so there's probably a lot of receivers on here. So Boyd was that top option there. A lot of focus could be on, because what Chase and Higgins did on the outside last year, a lot of focus for defenses can be on that. So could that open up things for Boyd in the slot? Very well could. Then Gallup, who should be pretty damn productive because he's that number 2 receiver, but will miss some time, but it could be a sneaky pickup down here. And Valdes-Scantling kind of has that deep speed to match the Patrick Mahomes ball, so I think that's pretty good option there. And Trey Lance is pretty sneaky. It's a little risky, but hearing the first few days of 49ers training camp, it's like a little sloppy, but I'm hearing and seeing some good things lately. It seems more confident. He seems a little more confident based on what I've seen and heard, there. So, maybe not as scary, but he's going to run the shit out of the ball, and he's going to score on the ground, get those 6 points, instead of the passing touchdown. So I like the gamble of Lance, around these parts. 11, going to go Kenneth Gainwell, who I like a lot. They really started using him more at the end of last year, that gadget type of player. Training camp, you see him playing running back with the ones, you see him playing receiver with the ones. Eagles got that unique offense. They want to make it even more unique. They want to use their running backs, their gadget guys, as much as they can because they want to be a pain in the ass. That kind of fits Hurts' ball as well. That opens things up for A.J. Brown. So that's why I like Gainwell. Aaron Rodgers sitting around these parts, in mocks like that. Devontae Parker. Now with the Patriots, he's got to be a top 2 receiver for them. That kind of got that guy they've been missing from Mac Jones, down the sideline, contested catch. And then Mike Gesicki, which I think has moved down since last year because they tagged him. They don't want to give him an extension yet. I think maybe looking too much into that. Let's just see how he works with this new staff. They're going to use him though, So I maybe Tyreek Hill takes away some catches from him, but I don't think a whole lot. He's still their top tight end. He's still going to be productive. Will be solid in the red zone as well. So he could end up being a steal. Round 12, a big fan of Tyler Algier, the BYU running back to the Falcons. I've been kind of hyping him up. I think he, maybe not week one, but I think he eventually and during most of the season will be their lead back, actually, because Cordell Patterson was kind of their back last year, and he was having an insane year. And then it kind of came back down to earth down the stretch a little bit the last, 4, 5, 6 games. I think teams started to figure it out, kind of game plan for that. So he's still kind of a hybrid guy, could be more of a receiver. They don't have Mike Davis anymore. True running back, their best true running back that also fits that Arthur Smith football there is Tyler Algier. So I really like the idea of him. Going to be a very sneaky pick. DJ Chark looking good in camp. Good option down here around 12. Stafford kind of slipping through a little bit. Should be super productive. And then Mostert, which is a little bit of a gamble, but him and Edmonds should be splitting pretty well. I mean, they probably want to use Mostert more than they will. Will they be tempted to, because he kind of fits that Mike McDaniel offense. But, yeah, we're getting to the parts down here. There's not a whole lot of standout options. I really like Algier, though. It's a guy that I'm really trying to target. Then round 13, Albert O of the Broncos. Really, there's a shortage on tight ends over there, extreme shortage. It's really just Albert O, who is their top guy, and who Russell Wilson seems to really like early on here in training camp. So that's a very good sign there. Khalil Herbert kind of growing on me a little bit. Almost put him up here. Well, I did put him up here because the Bears kind of switching their scheme, running scheme a little bit more towards outside zone. David Montgomery was always that physical power, straight north and south guy. Herbert actually fits the new system better, in my opinion. Is he better? No. David Montgomery's still their best running back, still their starting running back, but because Herbert fits it so well, they're going to use him. Bears trying to put in maybe some read option in there as well. I think Herbert might be a little more suited for that. He's trying to get some outside runs. Again, Herbert's good for that. So they're definitely going to increase his load. So that's a sneaky one as well. Derek Carr available around these parts. When you have a guy like Devontae Adams in there with already Ruggs and Waller, Carr should do some damage as a passer. And then Robbie Anderson, having Baker Mayfield really bumps him up, I think. Some people don't really think that, but I really think they get a major boost there adding Baker. Even if Baker doesn't play that great, they were so limited throwing the ball last year because quarterback play was so bad. It's just not going to be nearly that bad, in my opinion. Round 14, I really like Gerald Everett, too. I was like, Albert O, Jared Everett. I put Albert O last one, so Everett kind of an honorable mention this one, but I really like Gerald Everett with the Chargers there. George Pickens, he is a monster in training camp right now. That was a first-round talent all day. Just had some off-the-field issues and the injury issues. Were either of them major, a huge red flag? No, but you had two of them were kind of a red flag, two of them together, so he dropped a little bit. Steelers immediately when they draft him, was like, all right, this guy's going to be good because Steelers know their receivers. Even when they had bad quarterback play, these receivers are still standing out, and he looks like a monster in training camp as well. So they're going to play him. They're going to give him the ball for sure. Could he take some snaps away from Claypool? Could they use both? Both are possible. What I just said is both possible. But I like Pickens down here, second to last round. Everett I liked a lot as well. KJ Osborne slipping through. Hearing good things about him. He's just the receiver 3, and they have Amir Smith-Marset in Minnesota as well, who's kind of sneaky. But Osborne down here kind of surprised me a little bit. But it's at the same time, it's like, should he be available? But he's clear-cut 100% their third receiver. Thielen injured last year. Will Thielen be injured? So it's a little tricky. And Josh Palmer, which I liked that pick last year a lot. It was kind of the matter of using him more. Then they'll use him more this year. So Palmer, a sneaker down here, apparently, a sneaker. And then round 15, another receiver going to go Jalen Tolbert, who looking really good in training camp. As soon as the Cowboys draft him, that guy's going to play a bit. They can another big body slot guy that also can be used outside. Really good on the comebacks and just underneath and pretty tough after the catch. And they're going to use him. James Washington goes down. They don't have Cooper anymore. It's the same thing with the Cowboys. A Gallup might miss some time. So they're going to use Tolbert. It's why I kind of wait to do my I always try to do my fantasy drafts, week 3 preseason, the final week, or even after that, right after that, because who do teams sign? Do they sign Cole Beasley, or outside guy, Emmanuel Sanders, whoever it may be? Then that would affect this for sure. And then injuries is another reason I wait. But Tolbert, liking what I'm seeing. I kind of liked it right after they took him too. And Hamler, I just got to stay healthy. But Hamler, with Russell Wilson, and then Tim Patrick went down, unfortunately, so that makes Hamler a good option. Then A.J. Green, because DeAndre Hopkins out for 6 weeks. And now Hollywood Brown gets arrested. I don't know if we'll see what happens there, but A.J. Green's still a good option. I think Rondale Moore probably projected a little too high. I think more of a rotational gadget guy. They'll use him more. But Green could get a lot of will get a lot of reps, a lot of targets early on. And Donovan Peoples-Jones, it just depends on the Watts situation. But with him sitting here down in round 15, hearing good things about him in training camp, it's just really Cooper and Donovan Peoples-Jones. Cooper kind of comes out of the game sometimes as well, minor injuries. So I think it's a pretty good option down here in round 15. So you can see I like a lot of receivers here. So many good ones. But, yeah, I just kind of want to give you an idea of my favorite targets each round. Of course, I didn't use the guys. There could be steals, the obvious guys that slipped through. So that should go without saying. Like, everyone should be on the same page and know who those guys are. I kind of talked about them earlier in this, but this was a fun video to cover here. If you go to our channel, kind of scroll through recently a little bit, we have a couple recent mock drafts to give you an idea. Updated some for our super followers on Twitter, more to come, Q&A, all that type of thing, especially during the year. Twitter, we got you guys covered news, rumors, updates, more talking during live games. It's that time of the year, so really excited. So all kinds of NFL coverage, anything NFL, we got you here on the channel. So like, subscribe, turn notifications on. Be much appreciated. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. That's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.